Hello to everybody out there. Welcome to my home office. Today, we're going to talk about some of the work we've been doing on retaining women in tech. And we're going to go into one of our initiatives, which is on team onboarding techniques. If you haven't seen the live stream page, please go. You can have resources there, including a scorecard that you can use today. If you want to chat with us, just press the join the chat button and you'll be able to ask me questions as we're going along. I'm excited to share this. It's been a several-year initiative. We started in 2014 trying to deal with the statistic that women leave technology jobs 50% more often than men. As a result of that, focusing on getting them into the workplace is a valiant effort. But if they then leave mid-career or within the first 10 years, we have wasted our efforts. So we started the Women in Tech Retention Project at that time, which is now housed in my nonprofit, WITops. As always, as you would expect from the founder of Contextual Design, we started with deep dive field research, which revealed to us the key factors that help women thrive in technology. We call those the at-work experience framework, and it guides the work that we do. In order to expand our data and validate those factors, we did our quantitative research with over 900 people worldwide, and we now also have the at-work experience measure. These efforts and the data from these efforts have led to our approach to finding critical intervention points in order to make change in your organization, things that you can do as a team member, as a manager, as a director, all the way up. And we call these our ops, our initiatives. So one of those initiatives is team onboarding, which turns out to be one of the really critical processes that we want to intervene in order to manage retention. Just simple statistics. In our research, 49% of women in tech say they don't know what to do to be successful. Well, if you don't know what to do to be successful, it's really hard to be successful and get positive feedback and feel valued. Now, from a business perspective, we're training people and then they're walking out, whether they're walking out of our company or they're walking out of the whole field. This is costing companies $16 billion annually. So we said, let's take a look at team onboarding. And again, I teamed up with Carol Farnsworth, Carol, who was at SAP and Facebook looking at similar kinds of things. And so we did a total of about 39 deep dive qualitative interviews with new hires and managers to find out what really works for them. These are all, the usual suspects, experienced early career new grads from Silicon Valley, other parts of the country, small, large, et cetera. And when we looked at that data, we said, hey, we can abstract out of here what really matters. And this led to the creation of the team onboarding checklist. I rolled that out at Grace Hopper a couple of years ago to very much excitement and got volunteer managers to try it out. And over the course of the last year, we have iterated it. And this is our new version that we will be sharing with you as soon as all the formatting and final, dotting of the I's, copy edits are done within a month or so. Okay, so here's your sneak peek and your reference material. So let's think about it a little bit. When we looked at onboarding, now we're talking about onboarding into the team. We're not talking about corporate onboarding because organizations plan corporate onboarding, but not so much how and what should be done when someone actually joins the group that they are going to participate in with their manager and their team members. What we learned is that when the new hire comes, any new hire, they're nervous, they're wondering, did they make the right decision? They're wondering whether or not you really are going to know them, they're going to fit in. And so they're looking for the welcome. And they keep looking, we'll talk about the welcome, they keep looking for the welcome over the course of this first 6 months period of time. They want to know you're ready. They want to know they can find a social community, and they want a fast success because they think you're deciding whether they're any good and they made a good decision. Now, the most interesting thing is that we found that there are 4 critical timeframes represented here in our triangle and color-coded, and we're going to talk about each one. The checklist is organized this way. So before the first day, this means after they accepted the job, but before the first day, then the first few days that they're there, okay, then the first weeks, and then have they become launched? Are they now functioning members of the team? So our onboarding checklist is broken into these same things. But what we also learned was that within each time frame, there are 8 blocks or building blocks that can focus us on who needs to do what about what for both connection and success. I'm going to go through our building blocks first. The hero, if you would, of team onboarding is the manager. They are responsible for making a relationship with the new hire, for overseeing their overall new hire experience, and they are the one who are going to be doing much of this planning and oversight. They're the first line of connection, the first line of feedback, and they're very, very busy. So part of our goal here is to make sure we can help managers know what to do. The second group of people that are super important are the buddies. When we started, we thought, one buddy, but no, there are multiple types of buddies, formal and informal, that really matter to the success of the new hire. The work buddy is your basic, grounded, go-to person. We're going to talk about the buddies for doing work on a daily basis. But there are a variety of support buddies that are necessary. And if they're there, the new hire does better. The team, and interestingly, people didn't always know who was on the team. We'll talk about that. The team are the people that the new hire works with directly, every day or frequently. They are the source of value and support and feedback. So making sure things work with the team is critical. And finally, the network, both the social network, people to be friends with, literally, and also the network that you're going to need for promotion. Promotion and thinking about, am I okay? Am I performing to expectation is occurring right in the beginning. All right, now those are the 4 building blocks of connection. Let's take a look at the 4 building blocks for success. What do we have to think about? All right, tools and information. Does the new hire have access to the real tools that are needed for their role, for the team, for the department? Are they having access to domain information about the area that they're responsible for, past projects, etc.? We're going to talk about that. The team culture. You think you told them, it's not corporate. There's an informal culture of how to interact, when to show up for what, socializing, and this includes homework balance in the real. So we're going to talk about the need for that. The job role. What's a job role? The job role, is like, I'm a developer, I'm user experience researcher, I'm a designer, I'm a manager, I'm a product manager. Your job role is the work that you are going to do and what you are responsible for. They need to know, A, that you're excited, and B, that they're working to the specific way it turns out inside of the company. And last, the project. They want to be up and running fast. Are you planning your projects? Are you challenging them? What are the projects and what's the best way to get new hires who are brand new to the field or experienced up and running quickly, which is critical. Now, if we take a look at the team onboarding checklist, we have 2 documents that you'll be able to download. Okay. The checklist document is excerpt right here. You can see that there's a column, which is the quick reference, giving you a hint of what it is you should think about. We're going to actually use that as our reference in the slideshow. But we found that people really needed to know, well, what do you mean? And so there's detailed descriptions of the behaviors. Sorry. In addition to that, you have space to write your plan, and then you'll be able to go back to the document and change and update and copy, etc. But we found that for each of the different areas, there were certain issues that I had to have conversations with managers about. And so we've included those issues at the end of this checklist with jumps inside the checklist so you can reference it. The quick reference card, on the other hand, is a card that you can download, put on, lightweight cardboard, and put on people's desks to remind them, etc. So it's a quick reference to what they ought to be doing. Now, all we ask is that you make sure you give us credit if you edit it, if you change it, if you incorporate it. All right, so let's get familiar. We're going to start with before. All right, before is after job acceptance. A lot of times people go, well, what do you mean? I interviewed them and then they come. No. The biggest thing when we introduced it at Grace Hopper that people were lacking is doing anything reasonable before. Now listen to their words. It was great. My manager met me for coffee and told me about the first day, my first project, and my team. Or, I wish I got an org chart with everyone's pictures, names, bios, and responsibilities. So in before, everything you do to reach out and help the new hire feel like you're excited about them coming, to help them with all the forms, the logistics, moving, to know who you are. They're already thinking about it. You can help them, and they will have less stress on the first day. All right, so let's look at the quick reference guide for this, and we'll talk about it a little bit. All right, first, managers, communicate your excitement. What can you do? Well, you can send email, you can call, you can meet them in person, you can connect to them through LinkedIn, you can have a video chat. Part of what you're trying to do is connect and let them know you didn't forget about them, you're planning for them, you're ready for them, give them an overview of what to expect the first day, the first week, and answer questions, particularly about any logistics, about moving, coming, figuring it all out. On the one hand, corporate organizations have their HR departments for relocation and other things like that, but the manager fills the gap. The manager is the one that has to really help that person adjust. You're the go-to person. The other thing we've learned is that managers who get a personal statement, a paragraph that describes who the person is, where they're from, their hobbies, things they're interested in, their work, and shares that, also learns a little bit about the person that's going to help with the welcome. The second piece is what do buddies? What do we do with buddies? I'm going to talk to you in a minute about the manager planning and picking the buddies and make sure that they're all bought in, they know what it is they need to do. The most important thing for the buddies is that they also reach out before the person comes so they're not walking into strangers. Well, what about the team? Well, you heard our users. Give them an overview of the team. Show them their LinkedIn or something that you're able to share about who the different people are, and then turn around and let the team know who that person is. Beware of sharing resumes with personal information on it. You don't necessarily want to spread around their phone number and address, but you can share their LinkedIn. You can share what they've agreed to let you share. And ask the team. When the team reaches out through LinkedIn, the new hires love it. Or if you have a Slack channel that they can join before, you're not going to violate anything not allowed in your company. But if it's allowed, you can use personal email, etc., in order to connect. What about the network? You got to be starting to think who might be the friends. Turns out the social network is very important to the new hire. We're going to talk about what does that mean. And once you get the personal statement, you'll be able to know if there's relevant interest groups that you can share with them. So these are our behaviors in before for connection. Let's take a look at success. Be ready. If you can get them a seat near you, near the buddy, better. Get their tools ordered in advance so they have their computer and their phone up and running on day one. Let them choose their tools and their healthcare before if they can. This is very important, particularly for new grads who have to, and will often, and young people, consult with family and friends before they make a decision. And then think about how to give them a sense of your company and your field with available information on practices, marketing material, blogs, things that are public that you can share. You're not telling them they have to read this, but you're saying, hey, If you want to, you can. And that way they have something to do. What about team culture? Yes, I know you shared it already in the interview, but that's at the corporate level. That's not when you come in, like one young person said to us, I went and bought Dockers because that's what everyone wore. They're looking to find out, what does everyone in my group do? What can I learn about it? And once they have joined, and if they have family obligations, whether that's kids or elderly parents or whatever it is, they may have deeper questions about the homework setup. All right, what about their job role? Be excited for their role to be coming. If you're excited that they're going to be there and contribute to your team, that's going to help a lot. Share a little high-level expectations of the role, and your planning is to set up key one-on-ones with all their work collaborators that will allow them to meet people they collaborate with and also people who are more senior in their field. Project, you're going to be starting to plan the first 3 months, certainly. You need to know immediately the first project and what they ought to be doing right away in the first weeks for the quick win. And you're going to share that a little bit and who they will be working with. So these are the things you want to be doing in before. Now, when you step back and think about your new hires, just keep in mind, not every new hire is the same, as you know. So how do we think about it? Early careers, like the first 4 years, is the way we think about it. Whether that's a new grad, your first job, your just early career, might be your second job these days, but you're still learning how to be an employee, how to be successful, how to do your role. These people really need a quick social group in the team, not somewhere in the company. And as we said, they need to call home in order to understand and work things out very often. If we're more seasoned, somewhere in the 6 to 10 year range, they expect you to treat them like they know what they're doing and get up and running fast and start taking on responsibility. But they still need a social group. They need to learn your version of the company. But what if it's a new job role? We ran into that quite often. Remember, if no one in the company is doing this job, then together you're co-creating what that job will look like. So be sure to start involving them. And beware, just because somebody was in your company before or on your team, even as an intern, doesn't mean that they don't have the same nervousness as we learned in our interview. They don't know the bigger organization. The people on your team have changed. They don't exactly know what's going on. Tell them. Even senior managers transferring in certainly knew the company, but they didn't know who was on their team. They didn't know who was in their group. And they appreciate it if they know somebody there. So don't assume just because they were around, they know what's going on. Make your plans and then adjust. And don't forget to think deeply about whether they're remote from you. Best practice is go for the first days, be with them in the first week, and then very frequent support and contact throughout, as well as somebody at their location who's possibly your stand-in, certainly the buddy. We'll talk more about that. So watch what's happening, adjust, check in with them, adjust. All right, so another big piece of planning is picking the right buddy. So what are we talking about? One buddy isn't enough. This is the most important thing. And too often we conflate somebody to help with technology with somebody to do the work with. That's not a good idea. So the work buddy is your most important person, and they need to be local. They help the new hire understand everything: the job, the project, the team, the processes. They help integrate them socially. It's best when they are in the same age cohort with the same job role, but just a couple years more experience. They will work on their first projects together, and they will be their long-term relationship. And we hope it's their first friend. Now, at the same time, they need an experienced buddy. Now, that might be the manager, but it has to be someone more experienced than the person, again, in the same job role, that can give them the larger context of the work and the organization and be a go-to person for questions. And both the buddy and the experienced buddy have to like being asked questions. If they don't like being asked questions, it's not going to be a good relationship. So if the manager's not the buddy, find one. All right, now let's talk about the IT buddy, and I do not mean corporate IT. Pretty much we found that organizations have the go-to helper IT person on their team who just knows tech. You might want to formalize that relationship or push it around. But it is too often the case, we found, that they make the IT buddy, because they got to get them up and running on things fast, the work buddy, but then they don't work together. Or they might not really be a natural social mix. So let's split these roles. Don't merge them. Get somebody who just knows how to access everything in the organization, all the tools, and they can help. And last, we found that organizations that had what we will call a company buddy, a person who probably has been there a fairly long time, could even be an admin, who really knows the ins and outs of the company, what it means to be an employee, how to navigate all the websites. They meet within the first few weeks, they check in, they're very non-threatening, and the new hire comes and asks them dumb questions, right? And we'll talk later, there's a number of documents that we found are best practices for people to create, and this is the person that walks them through the quick links document. All right, so you're picking the right buddy, and you're thinking about the social network. They all want a friend on the team. They are afraid of being isolated or just unknown or have no one to go to. So for early career, make sure it's the same age cohort. Yes. One story is when a very young person joined the team, and every single person on the team was older with family members. They can't relate to any of those stories, and vice versa. They spent even up and through 6 months trying to find someone to talk to, and they couldn't. So what do we mean? Somebody in their age cohort with shared interests, hobbies, games, sports, get it from their personal statement. Even things like, oh, we either live in the same place, or we come from the same place, or we went to the same college. These things help people connect. Or their interests, women in tech, environment, volunteering, whatever it is. Remember, you're trying to get them socially hooked in. And think about the professional connection. Forums, associations, Slack groups, whatever it is, real physical connections, online connections. This is going to be important once they get up and running, and also to think about for their own advancement. But you need to encourage personal invitations to events, because then they will go. They're not going to necessarily just go if they find out about it. This is part of a really social bond. So when we think of before, the manager is the hero, the buddies are the sidekick. We have to do all this work before they show up on the first day. And when we started this, we called it first day, but now we learned you can't fit everything into the first day. And sometimes the corporation has, corporate onboarding the first day or something like that. So let's expand that to the first few days. And in the first days, you're helping them get integrated. This is critical. If they float, if you are not ready for them, if they don't connect with people right away, if they don't get those tools up and running, they're going to feel at sea. So let's look at some quotes. People came to me and were excited. I was assigned a buddy and we met. He was mine. It would reduce my stress level if I had a mentor I could talk to and trust for everyday issues. Or how about this one? I had to enter 15 to 20 IT tickets to get access to every service and software app. Shame on you. So here we are, first days celebrating the new hire. Let's take a look at it. Okay, day one managers. I don't care if day one is corporate, onboarding, and it somehow doesn't have anything to do with you. We strongly recommend that you are either there to greet them and spend the first week with them, you at least call, you make sure they're doing okay, you have lunch in the break, but one way or another, connect with them on the real first day. When you meet, give them an overview of the business and the work area, and particularly your management style. What are your expectations? You're gonna go high level to detailed over this time frame. And invite them, say, I want you to ask questions. Just ask me questions, and it's okay for you to ask me questions. Asking questions is really one of the most important things for successful team onboarding. For the buddies, you're going to introduce them to the buddy, the work buddy in particular. The work buddy is then going to introduce them and talk with them and show them around. That's the relationship. You're going to introduce them to and connect them to the support buddies, the ones that we talked about. And they can share their perspective. If they're not all co-located, they can have a short video chat in the first days and say, hey, we're going to do this later. Okay, so the buddies are also part of the welcome event. The closer they sit to each other, the easier it is to drop in, the better it is. For the team, you got a personal statement, the team can make their little fun bios, have a welcome event, share the great skills that this new person is bringing to your organization. And be sure you start thinking, who are all the team members? Set up those one-on-ones so they meet them and spend time with them. Too often, organizations are just having a 5-minute hallway hello. Maybe that's all you can do on day 1, but that's not all you can do on day 2, 3, 4, and 5. What about the network? Most important, step 1 is who might be a friend or a social network at work. You want to connect them, but there are stakeholders, your manager, their manager. We'll talk about who that is. Share those goals and expectations so they have an idea that how their job is making the manager successful, is making the next manager successful. What are the mission goals of that division? And for success, as we said, up and running on day 1. Really, this is the IT buddy. The IT buddy is the point person. The work buddy or the experience buddy can start reviewing the team jobs link deck and a deck. And I'll talk to you about what's in that. For team culture, this is where the rubber hits the road. The buddy is taking them around for the morning coffee, whatever, where everyone hangs out, whatever's going on with lunch. He's going to be able to tell them what time the meetings really start. And most importantly, what is the appropriate way to communicate? Hey, we have a Slack channel. No one answers email. Everyone only does email. Or we text. You need to talk about the culture of the team on the ground every day. Articulate it. All right, what about their job? The way you do this job in your organization is certainly not what they're learning in grad school or undergraduate school. So particularly for new hires, they're going to really learn when they get to the workplace. You have your techniques, you have different techniques. You're going to start to introduce them to these things. That's part of what is in the job links deck. Okay? You're going to share those expectations and you're going to meet with the collaborators, particularly the ones in the same job role. For the project, boom, boom, out of the gate with the work buddy. What is the first couple weeks project that they're going to do so that they're contributing and learning. And then tell them the work plan for the first few weeks. So they know you're prepared, you're ready. This is what's going on. All right, so what's a good project? Every new hire wants a quick win. A real project with valued deliverables, appropriate to their skill, letting them learn your system and your organization and the job and your techniques. Working, not alone. I don't even know how to say it more emphatically. Do not expect a new hire to work alone. I don't care how experienced they are. If you can't do it, make sure they work in parallel. 2 people, 1 more experience doing basically the same thing, or someone who did it a week ago, sitting with them for immediate questions and feedback. And managers are already worried about new hire overwhelm. You have to plan for it. The new hires, when they go to corporate onboarding, woo, way too much information. For experienced people, it's just boring. For new grads, it's way too much. Well, now add to that a complicated business situation or a complicated system that's being built. So we have to plan stepping them into complexity, both stepping them into understanding the business complexity, stepping them into understanding and being able to see the big picture for the systems complexity or the design complexity. And if we're dealing with new career, early career, we're going to think steps, a 1 to 2 week project with a buddy with lots of feedback, a medium-sized project with the buddy with lots of feedback. Now you can think standard project. But the experienced person is like, what? I've been doing this. Give it to me. Let me go and give me access to people. And soon, very soon, I want a stretch project. And at 6 to 8 weeks, the new hires any level want a stretch project because that shows that you trust them, you value them, and you're going to give them things that are interesting. Having a plan, we found best practice is plan out the first 90 days in 30, 60, 90 units and tell the new hire about it. You're going to tell about it in steps, share it over the course of first weeks so they know where they are going. And really, don't just give the inexperienced person bugs to fix. That might be a good 1 to 2 week project because it helps them learn the system. But if you only give new hires the must be done work that they are not interested in, they're not going to stick around very long. Here's an example of the content of what might be in a document and or a slideshow that can be shared. We found that some people have no idea what their team culture is. Here are some hints, and they have to articulate it, get your team together to talk about it. You know, what do you do for birthdays? Where do you hang out? Right? What are your communication channels? Group links are at the group level or the team level, the wiki channel. What are the important places? Where's roadmaps, strategic plans, slide formats? Take a look. And also at the level of their project and their role. What are project examples, project deliverables? What is a successful thing? Report formats. Do you have a team manifesto? Are you agile? So put together a document that you can share in person. Do not just send them there. And this is part of cementing, learning how to participate in your group. Try rotating who maintains the documents, and then people won't feel burdened. So, first days, do you have my back? Did you welcome me? Plan for it. Let them know. You're not letting them float around like one new hire had to make their own project plan. So sad. All right, here we go. First weeks. So they got past the first days. There's way rocky sea legs. Do you value me? Am I doing good work? How am I doing? Let's look at it. Get me up and running fast. Give me the project that matches my skill. It's appropriate. It's not too easy. It's not too hard. Involve me in things. Let me shadow. Let me go to group meetings and meet with me and answer questions, answer questions, answer questions. I met with my manager. He trusts me and is available when I need guidance. My manager showed me how my products fit into the big picture. He told me to talk to each designer. I didn't have that project right away. I had to create it. Oh, how sad. So we want to be getting them going in the first week. So what should we do? Check in often, not just one-on-ones. I heard stories of first we started with weekly one-on-ones, then we went to 2 weeks. But if you can check in every day and just drop by, see how they're doing, that is much, much better, right? If you're remote, you got to be thinking about how to check in similarly. You're looking for how well the new hire is adjusting. And we'll talk a little bit about that later on, because if they don't adjust here, you're not going to get the best work out of them. You got to be planning for that. Now, the work buddy, as we said, is partnering on the first project, the second project. Giving feedback is really important. This is good. This is not good. Be straight. People want straight talk. You know, in some ways, if you're coding and you get straight feedback on your code, what works and doesn't, and since they can ask people to give feedback inside the coding system, it turns out that it's pretty good for brand new hires. So we want, if you're in design or product management or project management, you got to get that same kind of feedback. And managers can check in with buddies and see how they're doing. For the team now, we're doing our one-on-ones, right? We're marching through everybody they're going to interact with. Who are they going to be interacting with, and answering their questions after those meetings, checking in, how is it going? But we also want the new hire to start participating, going to all the meetings, invite their ideas, tell them it doesn't matter if stupid ideas are there or stupid questions. You're making it safe for them to get themselves up to speed. It's time now in first weeks to start maybe meeting key influencers. Your managers, doesn't have to be really long, but they need to understand how these things connect and the goals. And this is the time when the coworkers have to invite the new hire to interesting events or go with them to group meetings, other ways that they're partnering in getting things done. All right, how about success? So the IT buddy checks in, making sure every tool and information is really accessible, answering questions. This is when the company buddy now starts walking through the company document of key links and places. For team culture, get beyond corporate policy now. Explain and train new hires in your work practices, whether that's formally, informally. Explain your values, explain your expectations, and talk about what is okay to do in meetings. What is okay for experienced people? How far can they push? How far can they question? For quiet people, yes, we want you to talk. For people that talk too much, being able to give them straight talk about how they have to manage themselves. The straighter people are with feedback, the easier it is to take. Especially if you also communicate that you want them to be successful. All right, job roles, shadowing works, partnering works, working in parallel works. They got to learn the job your way. You can send them off to some kind of training, but that doesn't, get rid of the questions. It might give them a context, but they have to come back and figure out how to work it out in their own projects. Now we want to think about the bigger picture. How does this job fit with the other roles that they're interacting with, fit into the business? How does the work get done with the different roles? All right, let's stop and talk about role boundaries. Every role has its responsibilities. There is nothing quicker to drive someone out of a company than to feel like their role is stepped on or disrespected. When the user researcher feels that they weren't invited to the design meeting and they did all the user research, it's like saying what you do doesn't matter. When the person, these are all real stories, when the person that used to have the job is still the go-to person for questions, when the person who now has the job is left off the email trail, that isn't working. When the product manager asks the front-end coder to do design work, which is not appropriate to what they are expected to do, the manager in our study had to step in and tell them, look, that is not her job. You need to get the designer to do that, not to expect her to do that kind of work. So we need to protect the role boundaries, and we also need to be sure that there is involvement that's appropriate to the job type. And what about the project? Now they really have to know, what is quality? What does success mean? They're thinking, where are they going? And if they are meeting expectation, lots of feedback, lots of examples of deliverables, good code, good design. Give them examples so they know what your ideas are and what your standards are. And now we're going to start sharing the work plans for the first 3 months. So they have an idea, where are they going? Let's talk about stakeholders. The only reason any of these extra information slides are here is because too often when we were working with managers, they didn't know. They didn't know what a good project was. They didn't know who the stakeholders were. They didn't know who was on the team. So let's talk about it. A stakeholder is anyone who can influence the new hire's work. So the management chain, the manager, the manager's manager, and above. The new hire needs to know what the goals are at each level, what the goals are in the group, and what is going to excite senior management so that they can, in launch, be showcased. They need to know what is more important than other things. It's not just putting your head down and working hard. They need to know. Collaborators. This is everyone that they're going to interact with. That's their real team. The group and the job roles that collaborate on a daily basis. And the managers of those collaborators. Because if they get to know who they are, that is good. As long as it's for something positive. So now we start to know, well, what are their goals? What is this person I'm collaborating with being driven by? Yes? Really important are senior professionals in the same job role. If they are not physically in the same place so they can have a relationship, then arrange for them to meet and be a support person remotely. These people are going to influence their perception in the larger community of their job role. And so this is particularly important for designers, user researchers, program managers. So we want to know who else is like them, only with more stature. And don't forget the communities of interest and get them introduced and meeting the people there. So you're going to set up one-on-one meetings with these folks. That'll take multiple weeks. All right, here's our company doc. So what are the kinds of things? Key corporate links. Do not send them off to the corporate wiki and just go, woo, go take a look at it, even if it's got an organization on the front page. Here's some of the things that people need to know. Your benefits, your sick leave, your payroll, your contract types, travel stuff, right? Conflict of interest stuff. Depends on the group. What kind of company information? Cost center, reimbursement process, PowerPoint templates, roadmaps for the strategic plan, and physical places, health and safety, exits, fire procedures, mail rooms, printers, fitness center, meditation center, nursing center. So give them a document that tells them everything, and your company buddy introduces them and becomes a go-to person. We found that informally, in organizations, there was a company buddy. They just didn't necessarily pay them for it and call them that. Gee, what if you did? Or rotate the document and the responsibility. So the more senior person can also be the company person. If you spread the roles around, it's less stress on the manager. So think about that. All right, so in first weeks, watch new hire integration, watch their adjustment. Are they working? Are they participating with confidence? Are they hiding? Are they not sharing their ideas? Are they being challenged? Are they bored? Are they annoyed? Are they adjusting to the move? Particularly people who literally moved here. Are they connecting, making friends? Is it working out? Do they have decent daycare? What do they need? Or are they adjusting to what do you do to be an employee? Or are they isolated? Did you just put one woman or somebody else from an underrepresented, diverse population into a team? Are they integrated? Are they participating? These are the things you need to pay attention to. And this will keep going until you feel that the person is launched. So let's talk about launch. It's easy once you feel like they're sort of launched to think, I'm done. But as this one person said, I felt intimidated by so many things to learn, numbers, acronyms, forms. I would have liked better integration into projects. But after 4 to 5 months, I feel like I'm less at sea. The new hires keep learning really for months. So we have to go, and we'll do this in a minute. Are they launched because they still have questions? Are they working collaboratively and confidently? Are you giving them stretch projects? And promotion, Ambition exists. We have to deal with it. So what do we do with launch? So first, monitor if they're launched. We'll talk in a minute. Second, time for challenges. Make sure they're having a stretch goal. You can see what they're doing. You know what a good stretch goal is. If you want to give them choice, give them 2 to 3 things to pick from. And start talking about the path to success. We're going to talk about that more. The buddies are now continuously go-to people. You might want to think about a career buddy eventually, somebody who's really going to help them think through and promote their career, get a bigger perspective of the organization. For the team, make sure they're fully participating in the work. They're not hiding out. Are they heard? Are they valued? Take a look at that. Don't assume. Are they looking happy? For the network, time to showcase. Showcase their success to influencers, tell people about it, and help them start to meet career influencers like the stakeholders we talked about. And you're still watching for social connection. In success, ask the new hire to start helping. They can help someone else with tools and processes. But this is another time we like to emphasize, make sure they understand the important corporate rules. Corporate dumps all that stuff on them through early training, but do they know? Are they positive they know what confidentiality means? Do they know what PI is? Do they know what they might do that would trip them up in their career, depending on what kind of company you have? So make sure that they're clear on things to be careful about. All right, we talked a little bit about this. Monitor that team culture. Make sure it is working. It is accepting the people. The new people are integrated, particularly if we anticipate that there could be a problem. For the job role, monitor, monitor, monitor. Are they successfully delivering on time, collaborating, influencing? And then you keep coaching them to stretch that experience. For the project, now they're going to start co-planning with you, plan those challenges, and let them get those stretch goals and check in. Are they happy with the projects? Or are they bored? Or are they overwhelmed? So check in. You're really doing a lot of check-in now. All right, so what's launched? Simple for the work, participates, works confidently, delivers on time with quality. Understanding, asks less how-to, more big picture questions, and leverages their learning from past projects. Participation, voices their own ideas in meetings and in one-on-ones. Navigates the work, the team, the organization, they know how to get things done. If the new hire isn't meeting these criteria, they're not launched, no matter where they're at, and flip back to management like we do in first weeks. All right, so let's talk about honest feedback. New hires want straight talk feedback without emotion, which talks about the work or a behavior that needs to be ameliorated from the point of view of value. If they get frequent and straight feedback, it's appreciated. If it comes with a tinge of disdain, it disrupts their self-confidence. If it feels like criticism instead of coaching, you got to think about how you're doing it. So every new hire wants to know if they're meeting expectation. They don't really know what expectation is. You need to tell them, yes, you did this and this, you're meeting it. You're doing a good job now, and this is what success means. And this is how you can tell. They want to know that they're advancing their skill and their career. Feedback early and often helps them get there, from managers, the work buddy, experienced professionals. They just want it professionally. So you're looking, are the projects on time? Tell them. Communicating about problems so you can adjust in a timely way. That's your criteria for success, said one manager. No or few errors in the code. That's your criteria for success. The design is meeting our standard. It's well received by customers. The team are coordinated. If you're a project lead, the tasks are tracked. They're smoother. In one form or another, you need to tell them what is success. And for promotion, too often I hear two things. One, the person is too early in career to think about promotion. Two, somehow, even the earliest in career are supposed to have their future mapped out. These are both not useful. So every new hire needs to understand the path to promotion. Experienced new hires expect to discuss it right very early, and their career, where they're going and how to get there. They may even have goals for the step after, the job after. The early career people just want to know, what are the steps? What is the expected performance? How do I advance? New grads might have ambition and they might not. They have too much going on. They're learning how to be a worker. They're learning what a career is. They're learning how to do the process in your organization. They worry if they ask about career that they'll be called arrogant. So tell them the path, respond to their questions. And then after 90 days or whenever they're launched, start to co-create a personal roadmap for advancement. This is a time to think about a career buddy whenever you think about that. Okay? I mean, one young person was surprised when her manager started talking to her when she's been 9 months in the job about becoming a manager. She didn't expect that. You got to help them see what the path looks like. So for all of team onboarding, plan for it. Help the person be integrated into this company, feel valued and integral to the work, connect to the people they work with, and know how to be successful. If you do that, they're not going to leave because they don't know what to do. And they're going to feel good about themselves. They're going to feel like they matter. They're going to feel connected, and they're less likely to walk out the door. So what we are talking about is making change in your organization by design on purpose. If we put new practices and new processes in place, like the team onboarding checklist, you can affect whether or not you retain women in tech, frankly, whether you retain anyone. You are deliberately designing your team onboarding process. Be sure if you've got multiple checklists, you bring it together on your own and get one thing that you can pay attention to. We have to think about how to support managers, which is why we talked about multiple buddies, new roles, documents to pay attention to in this. If we create the support and the structure and the expectation for team onboarding, we're going to knock into one of the things that gets in the way of retention. When we think about making change at WITops, we are looking for those critical retention points, the intervention places, the places we can make change that will really matter. Some of that is key processes like team onboarding and also how we do feedback and critique. We have other initiatives that are about interpersonal dynamics, the match, how the person fits with the people they're working with and their managers, and the between, how to deal with interpersonal conflict. New processes are being talked about on our website. And we do fun stuff like our Career Power board game to try to sneak insight about how to be successful and bias into discussions on the team. Or we take a look at the processes like Agile or Scrum that you might be using, and we made slight tunes to, for example, how you do the team manifesto. Today, we talked about the strong start, team onboarding. And if you enjoyed this and if you want to use it, please come to our website and please join us. All the work that is done by volunteers. You can help. And these are our upcoming live streams. So please join us. And if we have some time, we can have some questions. And I'm going to just see if we've got anything. All right. So here's a question from Ingrid. We onboard a lot of people who work remotely. Any tips on that? Do you do a fun welcome event for each new hire? Yes. Could you do them in a group? I think you want that new hire event to be in the first days. You want to know it's about them. For remote, we talked a little bit about that. Again, if they're remote, be there on the first day, best the first week with them, get them really going, and make sure they have local support. Very happy to work with any people or companies who want to try this out in their organization so we can make it work for you. Derek, you want to send me another question? All right. So it's great that you're here. If you have other questions, please let me know and please contact me. Remember that our last live stream last month was on valuing and devaluing behavior. It's out there. You can take a look at it. And I look forward to talking with you about all of these things. So take care, and I'll talk with you guys next month when we're going to be talking about the critique or other critical process. Take care.